In just one night, the entire field seemed to be wiped out by something moving in the darkness. There was no warning, no clear sound. Everything happened so silently that no one noticed. By the next morning, when helicopters began scanning the area, the scale of the damage only became visible from above. Long strips of disturbed soil appeared like cuts slicing across the field, stretching from the forest edge deep into the production area. And this was not an isolated case. Within just a few weeks, the damage surged. Some areas recorded more than 30% of crops affected. And in the United States, total annual losses caused by wild boars exceed $2.5 billion. These numbers did not appear overnight. They accumulated from small, repeating signs: upturned soil, damaged crop rows, expanding empty patches. When everything repeats long enough, it is no longer an incident, but a pattern silently taking shape. Wild boars do not move randomly. They learn and remember extremely quickly. Once they identify an area with a stable food source, they will return along the exact same route. Surveillance cameras show that the herd often appears at the same time, moves in the same direction, and stops at familiar points. This means that without a proper strategy, any temporary prevention becomes meaningless. More importantly, with every failed attempt to intercept them, they grow more cautious. Once they learned the risk, controlling them becomes significantly more difficult. Instead of continuing passive defense, a large-scale trapping system began to be deployed. The location was not chosen randomly, but based on data collected over many consecutive days. An open area located directly along the herd's main travel route was identified as the optimal point. Here, steel posts were driven deep into the ground, forming a circular frame large enough to contain the entire herd if they entered at once. The spacing between the posts was precisely calculated to eliminate weak points. The entire structure had to be strong enough to withstand simultaneous impacts from multiple adult animals. Once the frame was completed, steel mesh panels were secured around it, creating an enclosed space that still felt open enough to avoid suspicion. Every detail was handled carefully, minimizing human scent as much as possible. Then, the most critical phase began: baiting. Fermented corn was spread in a long trail, starting from outside and leading deep into the center of the trap. The scent dispersed lightly, enough to attract without raising alarm. The amount of bait was gradually increased each day to build a sense of complete safety. Any unusual signs were eliminated, ensuring the herd had no reason to distrust the area. During the first nights, the trap was not activated. The herd was allowed to get used to the location, moving in and out freely without encountering any obstacles. Cameras recorded each animal entering, feeding, and leaving calmly. This was the key step. Only when they completely lowered their guard would the opportunity to control the entire herd truly appear. At the right moment, when the number of individuals entering at the same time reached its peak, the trap mechanism was finally triggered. The gate dropped instantly, sealing off all exits. The silence was broken immediately. The herd panicked, charging in all directions, trying to escape. The ground shook under their weight and constant impact. But this time, there were no gaps left to exploit. The system had been designed to contain the entire herd, leaving no individuals outside. And the real change did not lie in the moment the trap closed, but in the nights that followed. No more repeated movements on the cameras. No more tracks stretching along the fences. The field returned to stillness, a different kind of stillness than before, not the calm before damage, but the calm after the cycle had been broken. For the farmers, it was not just a successful control effort. It was the first time they had truly regained control.
Just start in the back and work your way forward, so keep running in a straight.
A silent war is unfolding across the vast fields of Texas. Giant wild boar herds frequently attack farms, disturbing the land, destroying crops, and causing tens of thousands of dollars in damage to farmers. These animals are not only strong, but also extremely intelligent, making previous control measures nearly useless. In response to this growing threat, Texas farmers have implemented an audacious solution, the largest trap ever installed in the region. But the big question remains, can this giant trap stop the destruction caused by wild boars? Can they halt the invasion, or will they watch their fields continue to be destroyed? It all began with the increasingly severe damage to farms. A large portion of Texas's farmland has been continuously affected. Crops have been uprooted and irrigation systems destroyed after wild boar herds attacked. What was once considered a rare occurrence in remote rural areas has now become a widespread issue across the state. Wild boars not only damage crops and the environment, but also carry dangerous diseases, such as African swine fever, ASF, foot and mouth disease, and respiratory diseases, which can quickly spread to domestic pigs and other wildlife. ASF, for instance, can wipe out entire herds, severely affecting the livestock industry. In addition, wild boars also carry bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli, which can spread through the environment or livestock. Controlling the disease spread caused by wild boars is becoming a major challenge, requiring stricter preventative measures. When threatened, wild boars can become aggressive and attack anyone who invades their territory, especially mature males during breeding season. This poses a danger to farmers, hunters, and workers in areas inhabited by wild boars. Moreover, traffic collisions with wild boars are becoming increasingly common, causing property damage and posing a risk of injury to vehicle operators. Managing wild boars in densely populated areas is essential to protect both human lives and property. To cope with the increasing pressure from wild boar herds, the Texas authorities have implemented a range of flexible control measures. These methods range from small traps to using helicopters for hunting boars. Among these methods, the steel-framed ground traps are considered one of the most effective. The trap structure is made from reinforced 4-gauge steel, forming a solid barrier akin to a small fortress in the field. The trap's door is about 8 feet wide, approximately 2.4 meters, weighs around 70 kilograms, and is enormous in size. It is connected to a remote control system via mobile networks, allowing the trap's door to be activated remotely from a phone. The trap's location is also carefully calculated, typically placed near wild boar migration routes, especially near water sources or areas where they frequently forage. The trap's fencing is reinforced with T-shaped steel posts driven nearly a meter into the ground, sturdy enough to withstand the force of adult wild boars, which can weigh several hundred kilograms. For several consecutive days, corn is scattered inside the trap to attract wild boars. Each day, Up to 90 kilograms of bait is used. When the infrared cameras detect that the entire boar herd has entered the trap, the operator will activate the door remotely. Within seconds, the heavy steel door crashes down, completely trapping the boars inside. This method has been successful, with more than 30 wild boars, estimated to weigh over a ton in total, being trapped inside. This is considered one of the few methods capable of capturing the entire herd at once, rather than just a few individuals.
Hey there.
A morning that seemed ordinary suddenly reveals a completely different scene. The ground is torn up, rows of crops uprooted, leaving scattered gaps as if an invisible force had swept through. There are no signs of storms or machinery, only deep tracks pressed into the soft soil, stretching in a familiar direction. It points to one clear fact: the wild boar herd has returned, following the same route, repeating the same pattern night after night. First, the damage appears scattered and easy to overlook. A corner of the field disturbed, a few plants lightly damaged. But within days, everything begins to change. The signs grow denser, the affected area expands quickly. The boars no longer move alone, but in organized groups, repeatedly returning to places where they once found food. The real concern is not just their numbers, but how fast they learn. Each approach becomes an adjustment in behavior. The pin-style traps begin to appear as a direct response to this situation. They are not placed randomly, but positioned precisely along routes the herd has used many times. Strong steel frames form an enclosed space, large enough to hold multiple animals at once. This is not just a trap, but a calculated stop point based on the movement patterns of the entire group. Inside the trap, the one-way gate mechanism plays a critical role. As the boars enter, the gate opens naturally. But once they pass through, it locks automatically, preventing any return. This does not trigger immediate panic, allowing the herd's behavior to remain stable in the first moments, giving other animals time to follow inside.
There you go. Female coat. Another female.
Bait is always placed deep inside, forcing the lead animal to move fully in before stopping.
ton of hogs in.
When one begins to feed, the others quickly follow.
They make it to where
This chain reaction increases the trap's effectiveness. In a short time, multiple animals can be contained without any direct intervention. In areas with higher boar density, net traps become the next step. No longer limited to a small space, the system expands to surround an entire feeding zone. At first, the net is kept raised, allowing the herd to move in and out freely, creating a complete sense of safety. Over several days, the herd forms a new routine. Enter, feed, and leave without danger. When their alertness drops low enough, the activation moment is chosen. The net drops all at once, covering the area in seconds and capturing the entire group with no chance of escape. In states like Texas, some operations even use daytime helicopter observation to map movement routes before deploying traps at night. However, in situations where individual animals must be handled quickly, snare traps are still used. Cable loops are hidden beneath a thin layer of soil, placed exactly along familiar paths. When a boar steps into position, the loop tightens instantly, fast, precise, and nearly silent. Each method has its limits, but when combined, they form a complete control system. From holding entire herds in pin traps, covering wide areas with nets, to precisely targeting individuals with snares, all approaches follow the same principle. Not direct confrontation, but using the animal's own behavior to control it effectively.
Se convierte en un lugar seguro para los marcias.
This is a quiet process that demands patience and constant observation. No method works if placed in the wrong location or at the wrong time. But when every factor is calculated correctly, traps not only reduce damage, but also help restore balance. And the question remains, can humans always stay one step ahead, or will they continue adapting to the ever-changing behavior of wild boar herds?
Stuff in a mess, isn't it?
For many years working alongside my father in wild boar control, I came to understand one key principle. When they begin appearing on roads, it is no longer just a farm issue. In places like Texas, herds follow familiar routes, so the risk extends beyond crops to traffic as well. A boar weighing hundreds of kilos rushing out at night can cause a serious accident, making control something that must be handled in a structured way. The next morning, I went with my father to meet farmers and the control team. A map was quickly laid out, marking areas of torn soil, repeated trails, and crossing points where herds frequently passed. No one said much, because everyone understood these signs were critical data. They revealed not only location, but also movement patterns that in wide regions like Texas. Some teams use helicopters to observe from above. From that view, movement paths become clearer, disturbed soil lines and trails cutting across fields. The helicopter is not used for capture, but it helps determine exactly where traps should be placed, avoiding mistakes in setup. The operation was divided into two directions. I went with my father to place blocking traps along narrow paths, routes the herd must take to reach residential areas. Meanwhile, another team set up a large corral trap at a central point. If blocking traps guide movement, the corral is where the circle closes, aiming to control the entire herd at once.
Has its own battery pack.
Bait was placed in layers from the outside inward, creating a natural approach. On the first night, the boar stayed outside and observed. On the second night, a few stepped in. Over the following nights, the whole herd gradually became familiar with the area. There was no rush, because acting at the wrong moment could cause them not to return. Once the herd was moving comfortably inside, the most critical moment began. The gate dropped in an instant, and the space inside immediately turned chaotic. Large bodies pressed together, repeatedly hitting the steel frame in search of a way out. The heavy, continuous sound created a clear sense of pressure, even for those watching from outside that I... In that moment, my father did not focus on the chaos. He focused on structure. He checked load points and joints to make sure everything held steady. If any part failed, all previous planning would become meaningless. This was not the moment to act, but to verify the plan. But the trap held firm. No animal escaped, and no pressure spread outward. At the same time, the outer traps blocked any individuals that tried to break away. The entire team stayed in position, following the plan exactly. That coordination allowed the whole system to function as a closed loop.
You did it. They're not as small. Ooh. Yep. Come on. Get the bus. Hip. Get the bus. Hip. Let's go ahead and shut it.
That a week later, the results became clear. No more herds crossing roads anymore, and no new tracks near residential areas. Cameras showed growing calm, and people began sleeping better. Roads that once felt dangerous became safer. Not because the problem disappeared, but because it was properly controlled at INT.
Yeah. Good job. There we go. Yep.
Texas, and many other states. Wild boars cause billions of dollars in damage every year. They do not just eat, they destroy soil, roots, and irrigation systems within hours. That is why modern traps are not meant to eliminate them completely, but to control behavior and reduce conflict. If you found this useful, leave a comment and don't forget to follow for more real-world situations.
What would happen if radioactive wild boar herds suddenly flooded into farms? And if you had to face hundreds of thousands of them, what would you do to keep your crops safe? This is no longer a hypothetical scenario, but a reality that has forced farmers around the world to find solutions. The root of the problem traces back to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in 2011 in Japan, when a large amount of radiation was released into the environment, spreading across land and surrounding ocean areas. In that context, wild boars quickly became one of the most concerning species. They frequently forage in coastal areas, regions highly vulnerable to radiation, and gradually carry potential risks as they move closer to residential zones. Although exact figures remain unclear, many estimates suggest that millions of wild animals worldwide are exposed to radiation, mainly concentrated in Europe, Asia, and North America. regions that provide suitable habitats for this species. In some residential areas, the presence of wild boars has led to increasingly complex situations. Under growing pressure, authorities have been forced to organize control operations to limit dangerous individuals within the area. Specialized equipment is deployed to ensure both effectiveness and community safety. At the same time, the entire capture process is carried out under strict supervision to minimize negative impacts on the animals. Flexibility in approach and the ability to respond quickly have helped gradually bring the situation under control. Beyond protecting people, these measures also contribute to maintaining ecological balance. In particular, building fences is no longer just a temporary solution, but has become a long-term strategy. Residents in frequently affected areas clearly understand the level of damage to crops and orchards, so they are willing to invest significant resources to create stable protection for their livelihoods. To address the issue of radioactive wild boars, farmers have begun applying scientific methods to control the rapidly growing population. They carefully study the behavior and biology of the species, then develop suitable trapping systems. Traps are placed in forests where wild boars frequently appear, as well as in areas near farms, locations they tend to revisit repeatedly. These cage traps are designed discreetly to improve capture efficiency while ensuring safety. Bait is placed inside to lure the animals, and once a boar enters, an automatic mechanism triggers the door to close. This method is especially effective at night, when wild boars are most active, and helps prevent them from learning to avoid traps. To support the process, farmers also use specialized tools to handle them safely. In addition to cage traps, simpler methods are also used, such as sound-triggered traps, a low-cost solution that still delivers notable results. Some traps utilize large trees as anchor points, combined with bait and natural leaf camouflage to increase capture success. These approaches not only reduce costs, but also demonstrate adaptability to real-world conditions while minimizing the risk of affecting other species. Regardless of the method used, the most important factor remains careful consideration of environmental and ethical impacts. Wild boar control must be carried out safely, avoiding negative effects on ecosystems and preventing unintended consequences. Do you have a better solution? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos.
In this area, wild boars are no longer a rare sight. Reports from local authorities have repeatedly recorded their heavy presence around populated areas, along with clear recommendations for population control to limit the damage. The moment we arrived, we understood how serious the problem had become. The ground had been torn into long strips, and the soft soil looked as if it had been plowed by an invisible storm. The edge of the forest was covered with overlapping tracks, both large and small, showing that the whole sounder had been moving through here for many nights in a row. But in situations like this, rushing in is always a mistake. Every measure has to follow the proper procedure. Before doing anything, we worked with local authorities, completed the necessary permits, and agreed on a trapping plan. Only after everything was approved did the operation begin. We did not rush to set the trap. Instead, we took time to survey the terrain, follow the familiar travel routes, and choose an open patch of ground along a trail through the forest. Behind it was a line of trees thick enough to block visibility, while the front remained open enough for wild boars to enter naturally. Once the location was confirmed, the team assembled the trap frame, drove the stakes firmly into the ground, tightened every tie point, and secured the bottom edge of the net close to the soil. Every detail was checked carefully, because even one small mistake could ruin the entire plan. Once everything was finished, the trapdoor was left open. Bait was placed, and a camera was installed discreetly to monitor the site. Not long after, adult wild boars appeared. They approached, sniffed the air, and then cautiously stepped inside. Everyone held their breath. Then the trap was triggered. The net closed quickly and cleanly, and the boars panicked, searching for a way out, but there was no escape. Only a small group was held, but that was enough to confirm that the trap worked exactly as intended. From that result, we continued to expand. More traps were built in the areas showing the heaviest signs of damage. Each location was adjusted to fit the terrain, but the core principles remained the same: discreet, solid, and leaving no obvious trace. Everything was done quietly, step by step, with patience and calculation. Night fell faster than we expected. At the eastern trap, the thermal camera began to record the first movements. A few adults appeared and walked straight into the area as if they had already grown used to coming there for food. One by one, they entered. When the number inside was enough, and no individuals remained outside watching, the signal was given. The trap closed. Sound exploded through the darkness. Their heavy bodies slammed into the edge of the trap, shaking the whole structure violently. For the first few seconds, everything was nearly chaotic. But then the structure held firm. As the movement gradually slowed, we knew the situation was under control. The next morning, we decided to try a different approach, a simpler trap, deep in the dense forest. There was no steel frame or complex system, only bamboo, branches, and forest vines, carefully camouflaged beneath green leaves. It was a crude structure, yet almost invisible in the natural surroundings. When night fell, the forest sank into silence. Then a single wild boar appeared. It moved closer, step by step, unaware that anything was wrong, until the trap suddenly dropped. In a single moment, the silence was shattered. The simple bamboo frame did its job, holding the animal securely inside. A rough, primitive trap. Yet enough to prove that sometimes effectiveness does not come from complexity. After confirming that everything was stable, the captured animals were handled using humane methods, fully in line with local regulations and with care taken to avoid affecting the surrounding ecosystem. There was no rushing, no reckless action. Standing among the traps we had just checked, I realized that the most important thing was not the number of animals caught, but the fact that the problem had been controlled properly and at the right time. Because if you only deal with animals one by one, the whole sounder will soon return, and next time, they will not make the same mistake again. Recently, the fields have no longer been able to hold on to their once peaceful state. During the day, everything still appears lush and orderly, but after just one night, the entire scene is turned upside down. The soil is torn apart, plants are broken, and overlapping tracks cut across the garden like invisible paths. This is no longer the sign of a lone animal. It is an entire herd of wild boars operating in a coordinated manner. There are not many options left. The farmers are forced to act, not to hunt, but to protect their crops and livelihoods. Traps were set the night before, placed precisely along the familiar routes the boars frequently used. Bait is scattered in segments, naturally guiding their behavior. At first light, the top priority is to return and inspect the entire system. The first cage sits at the edge of the field. Inside is a small group. Immediately, one detail becomes clear. Their coats are not uniform. Some are jet black, others dark brown, and a few even have stripes. This is no coincidence. It suggests that multiple groups have merged, a sign that the herd is expanding and rapidly adapting to the environment. In just a few weeks, this area could become their regular feeding ground. Inside the cage, the boars crowd together, panting, trying to break free. At another trap, the reaction is completely different. Some repeatedly slam into the steel frame, producing sharp, jarring sounds. Others move more slowly, using their snouts to probe each metal bar, patiently searching for even the smallest gap. This is something many people tend to overlook. Not every animal reacts the same way. When confined in a limited space, survival instincts manifest in different forms. In another corner, a smaller trap has also proven effective. Inside is an adult along with several young ones. The tight space prevents them from accelerating or coordinating as they would in the wild. And that is precisely the advantage of the trap. A large system is not always necessary. With the right placement at the right time, even the strongest individuals can be controlled. The results from the previous night make that clear. Effective traps are not a matter of luck, but the result of careful observation, calculation, and precise placement along the herd's movement routes. But it does not stop there. The traps remain in place, and the bait continues to be replenished. The next night will be another test. And then, slam! A trap snaps shut. Inside, a wild boar thrashes violently. This is a sign that the herd's vigilance is beginning to decline. Not long after, at another location, a large individual appears. It moves slowly, far more cautious than the others before it. It stops, observes, steps back, then moves forward again along the bait trail. Every step is calculated, but it only takes a moment. Slam! The second trap closes. Inside is a scene of chaos. Based on its size and behavior, this could be a dominant individual, experienced and responsible for much of the damage in the area. Elsewhere, two individuals are trapped at the same time. They panic, repeatedly crashing into the steel frame. But outside, a few others have sensed something is wrong. They pause, hesitate for a split second, then turn and disappear into the deep forest. The noise gradually fades, leaving the traps still trembling in the air. And that is the reality that must be accepted. No system is perfectly effective. The goal is not to capture them all, but to reduce the herd and limit the damage to the crops. The next morning, everyone returns to check. Some individuals are still inside the cages. One repeatedly leaps upward, using its full weight to try to break through the top, but to no avail. The next steps are carried out quickly. The cages are secured, and all captured boars are transported away from the farming area, preventing any chance of their return in the following nights. Everything is carried out according to proper procedures and regulations. The final stage is handled in a controlled manner, in compliance with relevant guidelines. No prolonging, no spectacle. This is not hunting. This is how farmers protect what they have built. And the question remains, when the damage continues to grow, what other choice do they really have?
If this herd can survive tonight, what is preserved is not just a few rows of trees or a patch of farmland. It is an entire year of labor, days under the sun and wind, hours of constant care, all of which can vanish overnight if wild boars sweep through. In many rural areas across the United States, this scenario is no longer unfamiliar. It repeats itself again and again, silently yet devastatingly, as dozens of hectares of land are torn apart before the sun even rises. With wild boars, everything happens faster than human response capacity. They leave little time for thinking or preparation. Once a target is chosen, they move according to their own plan, quietly and with precision. Statistics show that even a group of 15 to 20 individuals is enough to destroy more than 1 hectare of crops within a few nighttime hours. And what is even more concerning than their destructive power is the way they learn. If not addressed early, the damage will quickly spiral out of control. Recovery costs are always far higher than initial prevention costs. And the longer it continues, the more cautious the herd becomes. Sound devices and simple deterrents may work at first, but over time, they gradually lose effectiveness. Wild boars learn very quickly. They adapt, remember, and adjust their behavior after only a few encounters. Instead of betting everything on a large-scale solution from the beginning, the first strategic step is surprisingly simple: set up a small trap for observation. This is not the stage for catching as many as possible, but for understanding the herd's behavior. Which one leads? Which one is the most alert? How long does it take for the entire group to enter the baited area? These seemingly minor details ultimately determine the outcome. Just one small mistake can cause the opportunity to disappear completely. If the herd detects any unusual sign, they may not return for days, even weeks. In wildlife control, understanding behavior is always more important than acting hastily. Patience in the early stage is an investment in long-term effectiveness. Once the herd's movement patterns and reactions become clear, the strategy begins to shift. The setup cannot remain unchanged for too long, as that would make the trap detectable. The trap height is adjusted, and the activation timing is recalculated with greater precision. When the herd's reaction time is reduced to a minimum, the chance of escape becomes almost non-existent. A drop trap does not need to be complex. What matters is timing. When triggered at the right moment, the entire herd has almost no time to scatter. Their herd instinct, the very trait that helps them survive, becomes their weakness. They move together, react together, and when captured, they are captured all at once. As a result, the damage is stopped at the source before it can spread. After successful captures, the trapping system continues to be refined. The mechanism becomes smoother, the structure stronger, yet without unnecessary complexity. Costs may increase, but every adjustment is based on real data collected in the field. Bait placement is optimized. Activation timing is fine-tuned. The goal is not the biggest trap, but the most suitable one for the specific conditions of each area. Ultimately, effectiveness does not come from scale, but from understanding. Understanding how the herd moves. Understanding how they react. And most importantly, understanding when to act. When these elements come together, control is gradually regained. If you have ever faced a similar situation, you will understand that this is not just a battle against an animal. It is a battle of patience, observation, and making the right decision at the right time. Block the right path, act at the critical moment, and above all, Always comply with local regulations and work with experienced professionals to ensure safety for both people and the surrounding environment.
In just a single night, the entire field was torn apart, damage estimated to exceed $50,000. By the time daylight had fully settled, all that remained was churned up soil and rows of crops completely destroyed. Months of hard work had nearly vanished without a trace. With no time left to hesitate, the farmer was forced to deploy a solution never attempted before. But the question remained, could they stop the entire herd in one attempt, or would the destruction continue in the days ahead? The entire process was documented, beginning with the construction of a massive circular trap measuring up to 30 feet in diameter, a design aimed not at individual animals, but at capturing the entire herd at once. The objective was clear, at least 30 wild boars in a single operation. Because if even a few were left behind, the survivors would quickly adapt, become more cautious, and nearly impossible to trap again using the same methods. For a 500-acre farm under constant pressure, this was no longer an experimental option. It was a necessary step to regain control. For that reason, in areas with high wild boar density, a large-scale steel trap system was chosen. The circular structure, built from 4-gauge steel, stood like a reinforced enclosure. Its design eliminated sharp corners, creating an open and natural space that allowed the herd to enter without suspicion. The steel gate, 8 feet wide and weighing around 150 pounds, was connected via LTE and could be operated remotely by phone. The entire system was anchored with steel posts driven nearly 90 centimeters into the ground, strong enough to withstand the powerful force of adult boars. Each day, approximately 90 kilograms of corn were spread evenly to maintain their return pattern. During the first 3 to 5 nights, the gate remained open so the herd could become familiar with the environment without sensing any threat. Only when infrared cameras confirmed that the entire herd had moved deep inside did the operator activate the closing mechanism from distances of up to 6 kilometers. In the instant the gate dropped, every escape route was completely sealed. There was no turning back, no way out. The final result demonstrated the effectiveness of the entire system. "32 wild boars were captured in a single event, with a total estimated weight exceeding 2,500 pounds. This was not only an immediate reduction in damage, but also a way to prevent future re-entry from the same herd. Beyond crop destruction, wild boars also carry dangerous diseases such as African swine fever, ASF, porcine reproductive and respiratory syndrome, and other respiratory illnesses that can spread rapidly. When they enter livestock areas, they can transmit these diseases to domestic animals, causing serious consequences for entire farming systems. In addition, bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli can spread through the environment, increasing biosecurity risks. This makes controlling wild boars not just about protecting crops, but also a critical part of disease prevention strategies. When pushed into a controlled situation, wild boars can become extremely dangerous. Adult males, especially during breeding season, are capable of aggressive reactions to any intrusion. This creates significant risks for farmers and others working in affected areas. That is why controlling them in populated regions has become essential to protect both people and property. As the trapping day came to an end, the field gradually returned to silence. They carried the results of the entire operation back with them, leaving behind land that had just been reclaimed. And in that moment, they knew the season still had a chance to be saved.